Hello, my name's Peter Wren from the I Wanna Believe channel and welcome to Paranormal Encounters. Get ready to journey into the mysterious and unsettling world of the paranormal. In this gripping show, Paranormal Encounters, we delve into the lives of those who have come face to face with the unexplained. Through candid and heartfelt conversations, we bring you the graphic, personal and emotional stories of paranormal witnesses, revealing the chilling realities that lie beyond the veil.
Hello, my name is Trevor Assman. I'm from Abbotsford, British Columbia, Canada, and this is my story of my experience of living in a haunted house. I was 5 years old when I moved into our house in Abbotsford, BC, and I did not experience any paranormal activity when we moved in, neither did my family. It wasn't until we took a little vacation to Penticton, BC to visit my aunt and uncle. We were there for the weekend, and I remember before going to bed, my mom pointed out that there was a picture of Jesus on the wall. And I was like, yeah, I know Jesus. Went to church, went to Sunday school. I knew of him. And she was just asking me to accept him into my heart. And she wasn't telling any scary stories or anything. And I thought, okay, I'm 5 years old. Okay, why not? And I did. And then nothing happened that night. But when we got back home to Abbotsford, to my house, all hell broke loose. So when we arrived back at the house, the day of, at nighttime, I started having severe night terrors, what we would call at that time. I remember feeling absolutely afraid of going to sleep. I remember feeling, I was only 5 at the time, so I don't think that I understood what ghosts were or spirits were and that kind of capability, but I remember feeling there was a change in the house. There was something that I was feeling, something that was malicious, something that I should be afraid of, and something did not like me. And I just remember I just would not go to sleep. I would cry. I would absolutely tell my mom and dad not to turn the lights off. I had to have lights on all the time. My mom and dad were concerned, but I don't think they understood exactly how bad it was at that time because I couldn't really express myself. But I just remember seeing visions in my head of horrible things, the feeling of just something in the house that was just hateful. And then it turned into me seeing shadow figures in my room at night. It was like the darkness in the room, but there would be shadow figures floating along the wall. And they were mistful, like they were not like people, but there were many different types of floating shadows. And that's when I knew something was wrong. And I was experiencing something that no one else was because my mom and dad were not seeing it. My sister was not seeing it. They were not experiencing it, but I was. And yeah, that's what was happening. I can say that there was 2 very severe things that happened to me. I did not ever see flying dishes or open cupboards, but there was one experience when I was in my room, and my mom, she told me, she said, if you're seeing these shadows, if you're seeing these things, maybe you should challenge them. Bad idea. And this is when I realized that the shadows were actually real. They weren't just a figment of my imagination, but there were some shadows going around my room, and I challenged them. I said, get out, whatever. And I remember there was this one shadow that started circling my room, and then it leapt off the wall, and it flew through my face, or went over my face, over my head. And I just remember seeing this haze of darkness and this chill, this coldness, and everything went dark. And then it went around the room, and it flew around the room, and I knew, no, that was it. The second time was the most insidious thing that happened to me. Again, this is not about dealing with just ghosts, but entities. I used to sleep in my sister's room because I could not sleep in my own. That was my safe place. That was my a place where I just knew if I go in there, nothing would happen. And I was about 9 years old, and I remember sneaking into her room. I laid in her bed. She was next to me. I was on top of the covers, and I remember I was facing the wall. But something felt really off, and I kept looking at the door in her room, and I'm like, something's not right. I don't feel safe in here. But I thought, no, I will be. I'll go to sleep. So I remember closing my eyes, and about 10 seconds later, I felt one claw on my shoulder, another claw on my shoulder, and then something laying on my back. I remember feeling the scales of this, whatever it was scales. And I was frozen. I was paralyzed or in paralysis. I could not move. I remember trying to look up along the wall to see if I could see a shadow, but nothing was there. But a few seconds later, it spoke to me, and it said in a demonic voice, "Tell your parents this was fun." And I was frozen for about 20 minutes. I could still feel the claws on my shoulders. I could still feel the scales on my back, but I remember just being able to move a little bit, and then I was just frozen. And I turned to my sister, and I tried to wake her up, and I said, Carla, I said, did you hear that? And she's like, hear what? So here I'm experiencing these things, and she's not, which I'm glad. But at the same time, I felt so alone. And I remember darting over to my mom in her bed, and I shook her, and I said, Mom, something told me to tell you this was fun. And she jumped out of her bed, and it was kind of chaos. And yeah, that was the most scariest thing that happened to me going through this. Like, my dad, he was considered a religious man, but he thought it was just night terrors. My mom knew it was different, because when I was 6, my mom asked me to draw what I was seeing. And I remember taking a red crayon, and I took a piece of paper, and I drew a picture of a devil-like figure. And I remember in a bubble, it said, "I hate you, Trevor." That's what I showed her. And she immediately took me to doctors. And the doctors were just saying, oh, he's watching too much Scooby-Doo or something like that. But no, it was absolutely not Scooby-Doo. And then she took me to pastors to her church and would ask for help, and they couldn't help her. They were like, we don't know what to do. We don't know what to do with this stuff. I do remember my mom, it got to a point where it was so bad that my mom would not bring in priests because she was not Catholic, but she would bring in pastors and people of her church and other churches to come in and anoint me with oil and pray over me at nighttime, because it was so bad. I did move out when I was 18, and I thought it was over. I thought it was completely over. Around the age of 14 is when things, like, I don't know if it was just because I was getting older. I remember that I had gifts. I had abilities to hear things. Like, one experience I think I told you before was, I remember in the house it was like around 3 a.m, and I remember waking up to hearing Aboriginal chanting and drums, and it wasn't from the TV, because I remember my bed, I could look down the hallway, and I was looking down the hallway, and there was no glow from a TV. My dad wasn't up. there was something. Yeah, it was just crazy. And my mom, yeah, she tried to help, but she couldn't do it. And then around 14 is when I started to not see things. And I remember begging God, or whatever you want to call it, to take these gifts away from me, or these abilities, every night. I said, I don't want this. I do not want this. So 14, things started tapering off a little bit. And then when I was 18, I got out of there so quick. I need to get out. I need to get out. It was so bad. I remember even at an early age, I knew I was playing by different rules than everyone else. I remember watching the show TV Bloopers, Practical Jokes with Ed McMahon and stuff. And I remember walking home from school just hoping that Ed McMahon and Dick Clark would come out of the bushes and say, "This is all a joke. This is all a joke." Because I'm like, no one else is living this. And as I grew older, as I got out of the house, I thought it was over with. But I realized that I was a lot of misfortunes happened to me, a lot of traumas happened, and more than most people. And I remember I dealt with a lot of mental issues through trauma, through misfortunes. And I realized until recently, it was just recently, that I yeah, it's hard to talk about. I realized that it never went away. I remember, because I had so much misfortune over the last 40 years with this, and I realized that those claws on me never went away. I remember I felt for 2 weeks as a kid that they were there, and then they went away. But there was just so much misfortune. And just recently, it was just this last year, in August, December, that I realized and I accepted that no, this entity, I'm not possessed, but I feel that it has attached to me, and it caused so much misfortune. And I actually didn't know where to turn. I actually had a friend post on the paranormal activity group, your group, asking for help for a demonologist or something. And no one responded because I don't think anybody's really into that, but I didn't know where to turn. So I did an exorcism on myself in a way. And my experience with that, and that happened in February. And it was, but I did kind of like a self exorcism. And ever since then, I've had no misfortune, no nothing. But what I will tell you is I met up with a friend of mine who was my neighbor who lived in this house. I met her up, it was in January, and I hadn't seen her in 20 years. And we met up for coffee, and I didn't tell her anything. Nobody knew of this story, nobody anything. And I always felt alone, especially when I tell this story to people, because I'm like, people must think I'm crazy. But anyways, Connie was sitting across from me, and we were kind of talking about our neighborhood, and oh, this person lived here, this person lived there, and oh, la la la. And then out of the blue, she said, "You know, Trev, I have to be honest. I have nightmares still about your house." I said, "What?" And she said, "Trevor, there were shadows. There was something about your house. I have nightmares about it still. Was there shadows? Was there something evil there?" And I was like, "What?" I didn't bring this on. I didn't talk to her about this, nothing. She just blurted it out of nowhere. And that's when I know I'm not alone. And I knew that this was not something that was just of my own fruition. And then I told her this story of what happened. And she goes, I understand it. She lived right across from me. And she said, it wasn't anybody else's house. It was your house. There's something at your house. Hello, everyone. It is Trevor, and today is February 10th, which is a Friday on February 10th, 2023. Sorry, I just woke up. And yeah, today's my meditation, and I'm just kind of breathing, just feeling my body, just kind of getting up the kinks, moving around a little bit. And again, moving around is okay. Just closing my eyes, and my hands are like receiving a gift. On my palms on my lap, still. And chin up. Confidence, chin up. Taking some deep breaths, going within. Just kind of distracted, all those things out there. I'm just going within right here. It's like opening the doors. That's what it's kind of like. And as I open the door, there's the screen of a TV or of something that's showing me images. And I get to create those images sometimes, and sometimes the images are there. I can enhance them. I can dim them down. I can brighten them. I can change them. But usually it's kind of what I see. And I always start and I always see just darkness. And that's good, because that's what it is. You enter the realm of darkness. You're a warrior. You know, as much as we want to be spiritual healers, part of being a spiritual healer is being a warrior against darkness. Yep. So I see it. And I feel like I enter it, and I just see darkness. There's the, see, it's there. And that's when I get the chill. It's like a chill, and I don't know. It's like a cold. It's like a cold. And the funny thing is, after I meditate, I feel warm. And maybe that's the cold energy that I see and I kind of walk into visually, and in my mind's eye, it's kind of like it's a sweet spot. And it's not painful, but it's just cold. And it's, I'd rather feel warm than cold in these situations. And it's dark, and kind of scan in my visualization, and I just kind of not try to create images, but just kind of see where it goes. And then, like, if I see, like, I'll visualize in the darkness a silhouette of a dark entity. Yeah, and I get the chills when I capture it. And I say, listen, dude, you failed. You failed miserably. Speaking directly to you. You're in the dark. Go back to your master and say you have failed. For I am a spark of the divine. I'm a god. I'm a divine being. This is my avatar. And you've been attached to my avatar. And no more. Every day I bind you in light, golden wire of light, unbreakable, and it burns your skin. And I just surround you in the most loving light, and it weakens you, burns you, you're in pain. You know not to mess with me. Not anymore. This is where I see myself. I'm not that wounded Trevor anymore. I feel like I'm not that person anymore. The Trevor who was always just wanting to try and do his best and could never figure out why he couldn't. The one that was just hurt so much. You know, I'm visualizing myself, that Trevor, because I don't feel like that Trevor. I was never that Trevor, but that Trevor was a person that it was me, but it wasn't me. It was a Trevor full of pain, who felt weak and felt confused. I felt very confused and didn't understand why he couldn't do what he wanted, or there was a limit. He couldn't be loved, and he couldn't be just authentic. And no matter how much good he put out, he just received so much pain from so many sources. And it's the Trevor that I see that this entity just, what he did to him. What he did to him. And I get why I need to see this. I need to see this reflection. It's not a reflection because it's not me. It's the old beliefs of who I was. It's all the old things I felt that I no longer feel. The pain that I was in that I no longer feel. It's it's a Trevor that struggled so much. I'm so sorry that you went through that. That you didn't know better. You were deceived. You didn't have the instruction manual. But you've arrived. You've arrived at that spot. What do I do with you? So much empathy for this person. You look lost. That demon can't hurt you no more. How will that happen? It's like my true self. As I step into my power, this is the power to Trevor. That's the sad, the weakness in me. Everything that made up me that was weak, and the unknown Trevor, the lost one. It's coming like. It's like I have I see myself, this piece of myself that's no longer me. Or maybe it was never me. But the person that I thought I was. And it feels real. It feels. That Trevor, you were brave. You were so brave. You were so brave. You did a good job. It's almost like I'm sending you away, but to a safe place. I don't see what you went through. And you did everything that you could to navigate this. And you did well. You did well. All that darkness. All that darkness. It's in front of me, but not on me. That's fear that. Holy shit. All that weight. All that dark weight. It's not me, but it's me. It's what I felt. It's what everything that I identified with. All the darkness I identified with, that I accepted, that I went through. And I just see it standing in front of me. A person, an experience, of everything over 49 years. See myself. Everything in the past, but not the future, not the present. It's not me. Everything that was put on me. Everything in the low vibration. Everything in the low vibration. Not in the high vibration, but everything in the low. But it's detached in front of me. This is not expected. This is surprising. I feel weightless. It's like this amazing energy around me. Yeah. It's like when I sent that demon away, that dark energy, and I cast it away, that it's like this piece peeled off of me. And in itself is not evil, it is not dark, it's just the remains. It is the shame, it is the struggle, it is the detachment, it is the essence of the low vibration that I was in. It's like the lid has been blown off. I feel free. I see you walk away with them. They tend to you. You don't need to look to me any further. Go be with them. Go be with them. Go be with them. Oh, God. Oh, oh, my God. unexpected. How was the trip? How was a ride? I can look back at this video and it's going to make sense. Everything that I've done in the last few days have made sense to make this happen. Everything that I talked about entered to space. Everything. It all makes sense. It's like it doesn't change the outside world. I'm still gonna be affected, or this is weird. My body feels weird. It's like I feel like I'm swimming in energy. The air is different, the field is different, the bubble is different. It's like how I am at birth, the person that I was without all the shit. It's weird. It's like weird. It's like my whole mindset is changed. Feels like all that gunk was, I was like in this avatar, and I was like just crammed. This small beam of light was crammed by all this darkness, and all of a sudden that exploded out of me, and now I can expand, and I've expanded, and I feel like I'm like, it's like the Big Bang.